Peace and blessings, family. Is yours truly, Amari. I am the founder of G.L.U.E Alliance, and my queen, Amani Amari, is the co-founder. On tonight, we have a special treat for you. He's definitely not a new face, definitely not a new personality to those of you who stay connected to the program. At G.L.U.E Alliance, we focus on your spiritual, your physical, your financial well-being, additionally, the knowledge of self. And G.L.U.E stands for the land of the spirit people. And on today, we're going to talk about what is African pride, and what had inspired me for me to talk about this is because, unfortunately, I've seen some of us be very critical of other brothers and sisters who may not talk like us, dress like us. Some people have some very strong opinions. And to be frank with you, to me, very dogmatic, in that regard about what being one of African pride consists of. Although I agree with them about, it is an outward expression of your inward pride that you have as an African. I still believe that we have to keep in mind that there are certain levels. So the reason why I brought my brother on, Brother Hakeem Royce, our brother actually went to Africa. He went to Ghana, and our brother actually experienced the culture. Now, mind you, our brother was African born in America, not African American. Okay. An African born in America who went to our homeland, and he had an experience with the culture. Brother Hakeem Royce, he's a conscious poet. Our brother also has a radio program on WMRR Radio. He airs his program every Thursday at 3:00 p.m. to 6:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Facebook Live, and via YouTube as well. Listen, if you haven't heard his lyrical content, I'm telling you, it's powerful, very powerful. His music, very powerful. I'm talking about, if you want to be sliding. That's one of his songs, family. So, that song is fire, man. So without further ado, Brother Hakeem, how you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Brother Mark?
Hey, I'm doing well, man. I'm doing well. So talk to us, man. Tell us about what you got going on over there. And I noticed that the G.L.U.E movement, the G.L.U.E is an actual acronym, man. So, talk to us about, what inspired you to, go into the activism and also to go into the conscious hip hop arena. And then also talk to us about, the name of your business that you have and what inspired you to come up with that name, if you would be so kind. And family, at the same time, if you would, at this moment, if you'd be so kind to share and invite, that'd be great to bring the people in so they can also partake of this phenomenal session we're going to have with, again, yours truly, Hakeem Royce. One time for your mind.
One time for your mind, though, was good. It's your boy, Brother Royce, always on time. One time for your mind. But I would have to say the best way to help people understand, my background in the founding of G.L.U.E is for us to understand the meaning of Black. You know what I'm saying? And when I take the meaning of Black, a lot of people take Black to be literal, like they hold up the black crayon or the black paper and say, this is what Black is. But, Black more so represents the culture, you know what I'm saying? And what Black is, Black is all colors put together. When you put the purples, the browns, the yellows, the greens, the blues, when you put all colors together, it makes Black, you know what I'm saying? And I'm the perfect representation of that because I'm the mix between a lot of things. My family comes out of the Yahweh bin Yahweh, you know what I'm saying? Yahweh bin Yahweh organization that was in Miami in like the 80s or the 90s or whatever, that was, shut down by the FBI. And, They arrested the leader on a lot of charges of, you know, a lot of stuff, a lot of charges and stuff that they arrested the leader on, and that stuff was shut down. And I was actually the first generation born after everything was shut down. So my family was splintered in certain ways, but we had our little, you know, groups, and the teachings were still very strong, still very prevalent. You know what I'm saying? But I was the first generation born out of that, after that was destroyed, after that was gone, you know. So I had the teachings, but I didn't grow up on the compound, you know. So I grew up in hip hop, you know what I'm saying, with Tupac records, with Biggie records, with, you know, South Florida, you know, Uncle Luke, Two Live Crew. You know, if you listen to me right now, that's a lot of different styles, you know, compiling into one person, you know. So I know scripture and I know word from top to bottom, but I grew up in hip hop, and I know hip hop, and I know Conscious, and I know Nas, and I know Rakim, but I grew up in South Florida with Uncle Luke and with Two Live Crew, so that it those things come together to create different poetry style, different writing style, Conscious, but you know, it's just a lot of different things that makes up who I am. And when bringing all of these different things together, you know, the acronym G.L.U.E, which was actually an acronym that I just had a vision about, you know, I just prayed, and you know, I asked God, you know, how can I help bring all of these things together? You know, how can I help bring everything back together? You know, and I went to sleep, and in a dream, I was sitting on top of a gold castle, and sitting on top of this gold castle, there was like a generator, like there was energy generating, but in a cycle. And as the energy generated, the castle would light up and it would glow. But etched in the castle was the acronym G.L.U.E, G.L.U.E, G.L.U.E. And when this generator was able to generate up enough power, the castle turned into a sun. And the sun lit the world, and all the plants and all the flowers and the whole world turned into a garden. You know, it was a very powerful vision. I had it years ago. And I asked him, like, what is G.L.U.E? What is G.L.U.E? What is G.L.U.E? And you know, it would be like a day or two later, but it was God, love, unity, enlightenment, and it would stick together like glue. So someone like me, who, as Brother Amari said, is an African who's born in America, born in America, who later on found his African roots, coming out of Yahweh ben Yahweh, coming out of hip hop, because we didn't have the Yahweh ben Yahweh teachings. You know, we leaned heavily on, we became immersed into the Black culture, and I was taught Martin Luther King and Malcolm X, and I was taught these powerful Black leaders. I grew up during the Spike Lee time, you know, do the right thing, fight the power, Public Enemy is like a jungle sometimes that makes me wonder why I keep from going under. You know, all of these different things, you know, came together to make me. So as G.L.U.E, we bring together all the different individual strengths in the Black community, you know, to make a nation, you know. So G.L.U.E, the adhesive to our people and to our collective is God, love, unity, and enlightenment. With those four things, we stick together like glue, you know. So that's the whole premise behind G.L.U.E and G.L.U E movement, you know, and G.L.U E Nation and everything.
That's powerful, man. So you and I, we had a dialogue about your, I want to say your pilgrimage, if you will, you know, back to the motherland. And it was a powerful dialogue. I recall what we conversed about, and I recall you told me about a situation that had occurred over on our own soil. As children of the motherland, a lot of our people, we think that because when we go back to the motherland that we won't face any opposition, or because, you know, we're amongst people who look like us. And I want you to tell me whether or not that's true or false, and tell us the reason why. And if you would just incorporate that with the experience that you had with the gentleman that you had the dialogue with over there about, you know, his cultural self-esteem.
Right, right. Well, to let everybody know, everybody watching the programs, I know this program is going out to the people who are interested in this topic, who study this topic, who want to know this topic, to let everybody know African culture, Black culture, it is demonized and it is oppressed. And I have to use that word because oppressed represents physical oppression, and demonized is a label representing ideological suppression. You know what I'm saying? African culture is suppressed everywhere, even in Africa. Even in Africa, African culture is suppressed. And I went to a gift shop, and you know, they was just teaching me about the many, you know, different symbols, and you know, they was showing me just beautiful artwork. I wish I could have bought the whole store. You know what I'm saying? Just beautiful artwork. And I asked the brother, I said, "What's your name?" And the brother was like, uh, Patrick Henry. And this is an African brother, African brother, never left the continent, never left the village. And he said, "My name is Patrick Henry." Now, like Patrick Henry, and you know, from being, you know, with Dr. AK, who already taught me the conditions of our people here and the conditions of the people there, and preparing me for the fact that we both are going through conditions. You know what I'm saying? I asked the brother, I said, "What is your real name?" And when he said, I said, "What's your name?" He stuck his chest out, and real proudly and real boldly, he said, "Patrick Henry." And when I asked him, I said, "What's your real name, brother?" His chest went in, and he dropped his shoulders, and he was like, "Kofi." And I was like, why did the demeanor change? Why wasn't there as much confidence in his original in his name as there was when he said this American given name? You know, and this would be a theme throughout the continent. And we have to keep in mind, this is what I found in the continent. If you remember the Black Panthers, the Black Panthers had built up offices all across the United States of America, and the Black Panthers was actually working on not only coast to coast coverage, from East Coast to West Coast coverage in the United States, but with Eldridge Cleaver being in Angola, being in Africa, the Panthers was also working with different, you know, revolutionary leaders in Africa on the continent to also build the bridge on that side as well. So what the oppression did, you know, the powers that be, you know, FBI under the leadership of J. Edgar Hoover, what they would do is they would send letters and messages back and forth. They would send letters to the American branch addressed from the African branch, addressed from Eldridge Cleaver. And they would send letters to Eldridge Cleaver addressed from Huey P. Newton. And they used the whole beef and turmoil from the Panther 21 to create this division. When the Panther 21, that whole situation was created by them kicking in all the offices and arresting everybody and just creating this mountain of debt for the Black Panther Party.
Hey, brother Hakeem, let's take a pause there. Let's take a pause there. Do you think that that's the reason why some people are afraid to express themselves culturally, because of the historical events such as what happened to the Black Panthers? For example, peace and blessings be upon them, like Fred Hampton.
Right.
You know, how they murdered him. So, you know, in the midst of you expounding on that, if you would as well, touch on that too. I would love to hear your viewpoint on that as well, King.
It's what it is it's a division and a wall that has actually been created between the two sides. We know the stories of slavery, we've been through it. We know the stories of slavery. If you go over there, they have a completely different story of what happened up until the late 1900s, I would say into early 2000s. Up into the 2000s, Nigeria had no idea what happened to the slaves who left the coast. They had no idea about the whippings, no idea about the beatings, no idea about the rapings, no idea about the revolts. And going over there, the whole entire slave tunnels, I walked through the slave tunnels. I sat in the slave tunnels. I touched the walls. I connected with the ancestors over there. The whole entire slave tunnels is underground. There is no above ground part of the slave tunnels. If you go to where they kept the slaves at, the only thing you see above ground is churches. So when you go there, you see a bunch of white people, you see a bunch of Christians praising and worshiping. So you're like, oh man, but I saw a bunch of slaves come this way, but this is just the missionaries. But the slaves were under the churches. You see, so that whole thing that they did with the Panthers, the whole reason why people are afraid to connect to the other side is because what each side has been told about the other side. You see, so what they have been told over there is that when they came to get the slaves, they would tell them, God has chosen your children for a traveling expedition. We don't know this in America. We don't know the whole story in America. People there told me they had been told. And your children has been chosen for a traveling expedition. And the Africans are traveling people. We are traveling people. Your people have been told about a traveling, your children have been chosen for a traveling expedition. We're going to take them to another land, and they're going to get a whole bunch of resources that they're going to be able to bring back here. They brought rum, they brought guns, and they brought tobacco. And it was like, where we take your children are going to come back with a whole lot of resources to bring back to your people. So the actual village of Ghana is about 2 hours away from the coast. So they would pack all these children up. The parents would tell these children, you have been blessed by God. They would put them on a whatever vehicles or transportation they had back then, and they would drive them out 2 hours to the coast. Now, once they got out to the coast, they would be beaten, they would be raped, they would be flogged. But the people on the parents, the people that let them go, they knew nothing about this. They're still waiting on Americans to come back with the resources. So when they finally log on the TV hundreds of years later, what they see is BET. What they see is MTV. What they see is the gold chains and the bracelets and the rings, and they like, dang, so the white man was right. He was taking them over there to get resources, and they got the resources and decided not to come back. Now what they told us on our side.
Let's deal with that, because see, you just touched on something. You just touched on something that's very critical. But before I talk about this, I want to go to what some of the viewers are saying. We want to acknowledge our viewers. Thank my Queen Amani Marty for tuning in. Queen Mother Rhonda Harrison for tuning in. Also, Queen Tamikia Rochelle, King Javel, and King Mike Ogle. Okay, so Queen Mother Rhonda, she says, yes, we Africans abroad, mentally, spiritually, are deprived. She also said, you, the young king, is on it. She said, Nigeria doesn't have a clue. Although she must say that some are learning slowly. And she said, you're so right. She said, thank you. And she said, you're correct. Both sides don't know. So now what I wanted to touch on there, King, just to take a quick cultural pause and talk about is how
do you think
the damage has been done so great. And I noticed from what you just said, how they try to be like the Africans in America, and then we are admiring them, you know what I'm saying, thinking that because they grew up in the continent, you know what I'm saying, that they are aware of their culture, and we admire them for being raised in their culture. But what I recognize is some of them, they dress like an African, they talk like an African, but they don't think like an African. And then you have ones that are African, but they dress like Africans in America. You know what I'm saying? So we really don't recognize, I don't believe someone's really recognized like the damage that has actually been done. You know, I want you to expound more on that, King. Go ahead and dive in on that.
Yeah. The thing is, slavery did irreparable damage to Africa. And when I say irreparable damage, about 80%, and that is a huge percentage, 80% of the population of Ghana was funneled out into slavery. That means there's not enough people to defend the continent from raids. There's not enough people to defend the continent from colonials. There's not enough manpower there to defend the women, the children that's left. They took that is a mind-blowing number, but 80% of the continent was taken. So what I had to be prepared for was talking to Brother AK. I was like, and he was telling me all about Al-Kebulan, and I'll never forget this story, you know. But he was telling me all about Al-Kebulan, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to go to Africa and see Al-Kebulan. And he was like, if you go to Africa, you don't see Al-Kebulan, you see Africa. And I didn't understand. I was like, what does that mean? It was like, after they took all of the slaves, 80% of the population, after they took the majority of the population off into captivity, we have to say it how it is, after they took the majority of the population off into captivity, they came behind them and destroyed everything. They wiped everything out. They took all the culture. Before they came and took us, we had temples, we had churches, we had pictures, we had paintings, we had sculptures. There was a whole entire civilization there. After they took away all the fighting men, all of the chiefs, all of the kings, all of the royalty, all of the guards, all of the warriors who guarded the coast, after they wiped everything out, they came and stole and took and destroyed everything that was left. So with him telling me this, I got sad. Because I'm like, man, then where is Al-Kebulan? And what Eric's pretty much saying to me, he was like, that's why I came here. Because you guys, the blacks here in America, he said, you are Al-Kebulan. He said, Africa now is the geographical location. But he said, you are Al-Kebulan. And I'm like, I don't understand. What do you mean? He was like, you were taken from the original Al-Kebulan before it was destroyed. So now that everything is destroyed, everything is wiped out, everything is hidden, all of the gold and statue and culture that we had has been melted down and turned into whatever they've turned it to, where they've taken it. He was like, the only thing from original Africa is you, because you was taken into slavery. You were taken out of it before it was destroyed. So now that it's destroyed, the only thing from original Africa is the African diaspora.
You know what, man? You know, the problem with that is that I can tell they don't know, and it's sad because I noticed in the video, because it's a brother named Dynasty Amir. And Brother Dynasty Amir, he's a friend of mine. He's been coordinated as a prince in Nigeria. And he goes to the motherland often. And what I noticed is in his videos, when he interviewed some of the indigenous people, some of our people who was born and raised there, they had no idea about slavery. Like what Queen Mother Rhonda said, they didn't even know that happened.
No.
You know what I'm saying? And so for that brother
that's
to
crazy.
say what he said, that for that brother to say what he has said, you can tell that unfortunately they don't have no clue that a lot of us been cut off over in America. We've been cut off from our culture. So now, look at now, we both are wrestling with trying to find ourselves, man. And I think that some people don't understand that because even over in Africa, and brother, I know you can testify to this because you was a witness to it, that some of them don't even, some people don't understand, some of our people don't even talk their native tongue over there. They talk French. Like in Burkina, like in Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara, a lot of people don't understand. They spoke French. You see what I'm saying? Like a lot of them don't even know their native tongue because they was born into colonization just like us. Right. Go ahead, man. I want you to talk more about what you're talking about, man. We got to dive in on this subject, King.
Right. That's the thing. They don't know anything about slavery, right? But what were we taught over here? We were taught that they were the ones who sold us. Wow. So you got people over here who like, I don't want nothing to do with Africa because they sold us into this condition. They had no idea. They still don't know what slavery is. When I went to the continent, the people were like, oh my God, it's an American. And I'm like, what's going on? And he said, you will see. And he took me to the slave dungeons. And when he took me to the slave dungeons, Cape Elmina Coast, he took me to the slave dungeons. And when he took me to the memorial of the slave dungeons, they have Marcus Garvey on the wall. They have Malcolm X on the wall. They have Harriet Tubman on the wall. They have these powerful Black leaders on the wall. You're not even allowed to take pictures in here. There's no photography, no video. This is sacred ground. So you're walking in a sacred ground and you're seeing Garvey, you're seeing X, and it's like, what is this? And they said, we are still waiting for our sons and daughters to return. They said, we got independence from the colonials in the 1960s. And since the 1960s, we have been waiting for our sons and our daughters to return with those resources that they said they were leaving to get. And now on that side, it's like, why haven't our sons and daughters returned? On our side is we don't want to return because they sold us out. And Dugu, his name is Brother Kojo. When I told Brother Kojo that in America, we are taught that they sold us into slavery, this African man was like, what? He said, who told you that? I said, my brother, that is common knowledge in America that you guys sold us into slavery. He was like, that is not true. He said, that is a lie. That is a lie. He said, we have to
talk about that because it's a story. It's a story out from Nigeria from a Nigerian female writer. And the truth of the matter is that the story that you told about the wine, well, I believe it was the rum and the gun and all the stuff like that. It's unfortunately, it's sad, but it is true that some of us actually sold our people out. And that's something that a lot of us don't really want to deal with. You know what I'm saying? And I don't, here's what baffles me about this. I don't know why we don't believe that we would do that when we sell our own people out for gangster rap. To be rich. To be rich, right? We sell dope to our own people, and so sometimes I think that we don't fully understand that some of us had the wrong heart. You know what I'm saying? And in our civilization, we still have rules, and a lot of people don't understand this. We still have rules in place to deal with people who were rioters, who were disruptive. You seen that yourself when you was over there when that one person was accused of stealing. Talk to us about that.
When we went over to the continent, there was a guy that was accused of not even stealing, of trying to jank somebody on a deal. trying to like charge more than what it was worth. And they accounted that as stealing. Like all of the people in the community started gathering around this person. And the person tried to walk off and they started following him down the street. And they were speaking in a language. And I was like, what are they saying? Like, are they fighting? And he said, thief. They're calling him a thief. And I was like, what happened? Did he try to steal something? They was like, no, apparently he tried to charge somebody too much for an item. And now the people so morally against how they operate over there because there's so much more responsibility and importance placed on Black economics over there. Over here, they've created this place where it breaks any kind of dependence we can have on each other because you can always go to the government and get it. But over there, the Black economics, the side shops, the shops that sell the clothing, these are the shops that take care of the families. These are the shops that raise the children. These are the shops that buy the houses. Over there, you don't pay rent every month, water every month, electric every month, this every month, that every month, that every month, that every month. You buy the land and you own the land until you sell it. You know, so you can go and work a kiosk job, save up your money, and go get a huge piece of land, and that's yours. You know, so because there is nobody to be like, well, if you can't get it from the Black man, you always got us here and we can produce it at half the price and twice the volume, because Black economics is so important over there, because it's so strong over there. They was ready to jump on this brother and take this brother to a jail because he was trying to swindle somebody on a deal. That is the morality of the people over there. But what we have not been taught, because this has been taken out of our scriptures and it hasn't been taught in our churches. And I spoke to a brother who was like a 15-year bishop of a church, travels around opening up branches and everything. And this brother told me that there is only one nation of people on the earth. And I understand that we haven't been taught that scripture and everything was written by our people. We think it was written by somebody else. But a lot of us know is there are two nations in Africa. There are two nations in Africa. There are the descendants of Ham, and there's also the descendants of Shem. But there are two peoples in Africa. Ham, those are the one. Ham means tar. It means dark. It means black-skinned people. This is what you see when you see the Egyptians. This is descendants of Ham. Now, there is another people that is in the continent of Africa. These are your Moors, the people who traveled. These are descendants of Shem. But there are two people in Africa. So the descendants of Ham, which is the Africans located primarily along the east, they are the ones who had primary dominance and rulership in the continent of Africa over both peoples. Both peoples were together ruled by descendants of Ham, but there was also descendants of Shem. So if you want to know the difference, you can tell the ones who are the descendants of Ham because they're very dark, very, very, very dark-skinned people, and their features are different. Their facial features are different. You can tell the ones who come from Shem because when you go to Ghana, the Africans there look just like us. Brown-skinned, caramel-skinned people. There are no very, very dark. They're in the sun a lot. They work in the sun a lot, but a lot of people in the west part of Africa are brown skinned like us. The other side of Africa, which they call the Muslim side or the Egyptian side, the Cairo side, they are very, very dark skinned and their features are different. So they were already being enslaved by Saudi Arabia on East Africa. Saudi Arabia was one of the funding countries for slavery, which means they worked with the whites that were planning the slavery, which is, Catholic Church and the other organizations that all had a stake in funding the capturing and enslaving of these people. They were already being enslaved by Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia was one of the most brutal slaves. It wasn't this, they called this slavery in America cattle slavery. That means give them a little patch of land where they can get grass and they can eat, and they'll make for better slaves. But in Saudi Arabia, they was cutting off genitals. They were doing the things that they did to us when they first started the conditioning of our mind. but they didn't have the manpower to carry on because the population of the South is not as dense as the population of Saudi Arabia. So they only use Saudi Arabian enslavement techniques in order to break us in, so that now they wouldn't have to continue to do that to keep us in slavery, whatever. So they asked the descendants of Ham that we will get out of slavery with Saudi Arabia. We will help you get free from your enslavement to Saudi Arabia if you help us capture the Africans that we are looking for. Because when they first tried to come into the continent and take the Africans, they could not get in, because there were African warriors on the West Coast that drove back every ship. It was just like when America fought in Vietnam. The reason why America lost Vietnam, because they went into Vietnam and the people of Vietnam knew the land better than America. So the people was coming out of trees, the people was coming out of holes in the ground. America lost. It's the same thing. When the first slave ships came to get those slaves, they could not get the slaves because they had warriors whose job was no better than any approach. So they went to the other people that was on the continent and got them to help them capture slaves. And because they're on the continent too, they know the land and the warring techniques just as well as the slaves they're trying to get. It was them that helped the capturing of our people. And there's a video that I'm going to post up. In the video, the people on the continent who are of darker skin, who have different features, who are descendants of Ham, they are all standing together in a big group. It's presidents, it's tribal leaders, it's chief leaders. And they said, we apologize for selling these people into slavery. Now we recognize that these people are our brothers.
And for those who are in doubt, we just posted the article of the queen who had wrote the article about her grandfather, who actually did own slaves. And so, you know, unfortunately, some of our people went into slavery. Okay, her name is spelled Adaobi, and her middle name is Tricia Nuwabina. Hopefully I didn't mess her name up, but I posted the article there. You know, my queen, she's the one who had brought that to my attention. And so we have to stop fantasizing. We have to stop romanticizing our story. And we just have to start being real about the things that actually have occurred. I think that we get into this mental state where we start trying to paint a picture of our culture being perfect. But that's the reason why I wanted you to share that, because there is issues, you know, that we in fact had to deal with.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can, man. You know, there are definitely issues that we had to deal with amongst our people, because we were civilized before we were introduced to any religious text. We were already civilized. So what am I saying? I'm saying that we already had, you know, measures, if you will, in place, laws in place, you know, in order to maintain the order amongst our people. And this, some people don't understand. They don't get this. They think that our people lived without law, all because it wasn't written, when we had oral laws. You know what I'm saying? We had oral tradition. You know what I'm saying? So if you did something amongst the people, you know, and you stole or you did, and this is what people need to understand, like, this is a matter of the heart. It has nothing to do with the melanin in our skin. You know what I'm saying? You know, we're talking about a heart condition now. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't matter. Even you know, my bloodline is a Khan. You know what I'm saying? You know, we come from the Asante people on my side of the family, our bloodline. Right. But the truth of the matter is, you still have corrupt people. You know, we didn't, before we was introduced to the Caucasian. You know what I'm saying? It's a matter of the heart. There's certain things that we do because of colonization, and there's certain things that a person does because of the state of their heart.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, King.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And what I learned going over to the continent is it's like if you're looking at something on the map. And when I was in America, because America was the only place I had been, if I was looking at it on a map, I would be zoomed all the way in. But now imagine we're looking at a flat map, and now it's like I'm going over to Africa, which Africa would be on the other side of the map. So in order for you to see both of these places that I have not been, both of these experiences that now add to who I am as a collective, you would have to zoom all the way out. You would have to see a larger picture. So the thing that what going over to the continent does, it helps you see the larger picture. It helps you see the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is the people over there suffering, just like we over here are suffering in our own way. And the little pieces that we're missing things over here that makes our heart what our heart is. You know, I've come from the religious backgrounds where they point out the wrongs that the people in the community are doing, but they don't point out the economic impoverishment that is making those people do those wrongs. You know, so there are things that are missing that creates the heart conditions of the people here. When you go over there, there is knowledge, there is intel, and there is information that is missing from over there that makes whatever heart conditions are over there the heart conditions that they are. And when you go to both places, you see that what is missing from the people here that makes the heart conditions that you see in the people here is everything that they're not missing over there. That's everything that they have over here, over there. Where we're weak, they're strong. Where they're strong as moral laws. If you try to cheat somebody in a marketplace, the whole entire town jumps on you and like, hey, 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 we don't do that here. You can walk through the streets at 3 o'clock in the morning and there is no crime. There's an old lady. I tell the story every time about when I go to Ghana about there are elderly ladies sitting outside their stores at 3 o'clock in the morning selling soda pops because there's no crime. There's nobody that's going to rob from them. There's nobody that's going to steal from them. There's nobody that's going to knock the old lady down and try to take something. That's something that we do here. That's what there is no lady who would be in Miami at 3 o'clock in the morning with her whole entire store open. Oh, just walk in, grab something and pay me on the way out. Because they would have robbed her, they would have knocked her down, they would have whatever may have you. So where, like I said, where they're strong, we're weak. Where they are weak, we are strong. What we do have is the knowledge. We've been taught over here how to install plumbing systems, how to build electric grids, how to build houses that can withstand certain weather, what you need to do to the ground in order to set up certain structures. They don't have that there. They have cardboard doors. They have open plumbing systems. They have, if you want to use a bathroom in some towns, you have to go to one mass bathroom that the whole entire community uses because the houses in some parts of town don't have plumbing. You know, so one of the biggest damages that slavery has caused is divide and conquer. That's the biggest thing that slavery has done: divide and conquer.
Absolutely.
You know,
and because of that too, it's taken away our pride.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And being who we are.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so we want to talk about that too as well, because you know the subject matter is also, you know, what does it look like? You know what I'm saying? So if you would tell us what that looks like, you know, in your opinion, you know what I'm saying? What does it actually look like? Is it embraced like what you have, dreadlocks? Is it is it African attire like I'm wearing? You know, what does the imagery of one who has African pride look like? Does it look like two of our people, male and female, that are of African descent married to each other? You know what I'm saying? What does it look like, man? Talk to us.
Think about being in love with a woman and everybody says that woman has a bad attitude. She's rude, she's obnoxious, she did this to me, she did that to me, she did that to me, she did this to me, but you're in love. You're in love with that woman. So she ain't done nothing to me. I accept her right, I accept her wrong. I accept her for everything she is. Her weaknesses complement my strengths. And her strengths, I thank God for her strengths because it helps me in my weaknesses. It is the embracing, when you embrace that woman for everything that she is, wholeheartedly, good, bad, evil, ugly, past, history, he say, she say, and there will be even a point where you love that woman so much that you even get in there to understand her wrongs, understand her shortcomings. There's a meme that says, you have to find someone that will see your past so that they know how to heal you, not so they can use it against you. And that's a post that was talking about relationships. This is what African pride looks like. This is what Black pride looks like. African pride is for everything they've said about us, saying that our culture is voodoo, saying that us worshiping our ancestors is necromancy, saying that the way we worship God is witchcraft, saying that we are the greatest betrayers and enemies and most wicked oppressors against ourselves, saying that we cook our people in pots and put our people in boiling pots, and the whole continent of Africa is cannibals and witch doctors, and saying that our doctors are herb workers and holistic juju priests. And for everything that they say about us as a people, we still rep it proudly. We still stand for it proudly. We stand on the coast and we defend our people against anybody that tries to stand against our people, that try to come against our people, and we defend our people to the death. No matter what's going on in the village, no matter what's happening in the village, when people pull up to our coast, we stand like warriors and we fight and we defend who we are, tooth and nail, even if we look ignorant, even if we look naive, even if we look wrong, even if we just look like we're blinded by love. You understand? African pride is I represent who I am proudly. I wear my locks where everybody's wearing brush cuts and, trying to look so much Europeanized. I wear my fro big, 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 where everybody has their hair long and straight and permed. I wear my Malcolm X hoodie when everybody says that Malcolm X was a bigot and he was a hate teacher and he was a hate preacher. When you look in the dictionary and you look up the definition of Black, it says Black means evil, wicked, dark, it said void of light. You understand? But I stand and I represent Black because that's my light. My scripture, my Bible that my people wrote says that God lives in the thick darkness. It didn't say God lives in light. It said he is the light. So because he knows who he is as light, he is able to live in the thickest of darkness. So I represent my thick darkness because even though it is darkness to the outside, God lives in that thick darkness. That's African pride. African pride is loving your culture, loving where you come from, loving your people. Even if you've never been to the continent, it's like a flower. You can grow the flower in a pot, and you can grow the flower in the biggest pot that you can. But eventually when that flower gets too big for that pot, eventually you're gonna put that flower in that soil. You're gonna put it in that ground. So like you said earlier, there are levels to African pride. There is levels to returning to a love of self. There is levels to it. But whether you're in the small pot, the medium pot, the large pot, or whether you're in the ground itself, what constitutes African pride at all levels of awakening is undying loyalty and faithfulness and dedication and commitment to upholding the integrity of your people. And if we deal with the issues affecting our people, we deal with the issues affecting our people as a people. I'm going to go over to Africa and I'm going to talk to them about why did you sell us? And I'm going to get the real story. If I'm in Africa, I want to go over to America and I want to talk to them about how come you guys have on all these gold chains and all of these cars and these nice houses, and you're not bringing other resources. You're not bringing any other resources back. And I will tell them, we ain't got nothing. Them cars are rented. Them chains are fake. And them houses are Airbnbs. You know what I'm saying? So African pride means that we are a family. And you may have crazy Uncle Joe who drink all the time and come to the barbecue, turning up and embarrassing the whole family. But Uncle Joe is still a part of the family. Everybody know Uncle Joe. Everybody understand Uncle Joe. So even Uncle Joe is accepted into the family. Africa is a family. You know, that's what African pride looks like.
You know, that was real, man. And so we're going to go up to the comments of those who are listening in, family. Thank everybody who is tuning in. Queen Mother Rhonda, among so many others, you know, that's out there. King Robert, thank you for tuning in. Queen Rita, thank you for tuning in. Cornelius, thank you so much for tuning in. Queen Mother, she said that, you know, she's so happy about this subject that we're bringing out. She said she appreciate, you know, the fact that, you know, you reconnecting us, you know, with our culture, and you bring to light, you know, these facts that we need to hear as a people to condense what she's saying. So, you know, she said she's encouraging you. She said she really appreciate what you're sharing. You know, she said, you know, you're speaking some truths.
Yeah. It's love. It all comes to love. Like we learn so much about love. But if you don't have love for your own people, then what love do you have for anybody else? If you don't have love for the people that look just like you, then what love do you claim to have, you know, for anybody else? You know, it's loving where you come from, because ultimately it's loving you. And once you start seeing Africa as a reflection of you, the problems going on in Africa, the same problems going on inside us as Black people. So if we can deal with problems going on inside of us individually as Black people, then we will be better able to go over there and contribute those bridges to our people. It's good to go over as tourists. It's good to go over, sorry about that. It's
No
good
worries,
to go
my
over
brother.
as tourists. Yeah, there we go. It's good to go over as tourists. And those who are going over now as tourists is good, because we get to get the word out about, hey, you guys, it's safe to come over here. But ultimately, we need to bring our skills. We need to bring our trade. We need to bring our knowledge. We need to bring our understanding. We need to bring our wisdom. There was certain schemes and stuff and certain, you know, scams and stuff that was going on in West Africa by the colonials. And they were falling for a hook, line, and sinker. But when I was over there, I was like, hey, man, don't fall for that. I see this in America all the time. So there's knowledge, intel. There's a lot of things like, for example, the whole debate of us being sold into slavery, where we have Black on Black crime so huge here. So if we can deal with Black on Black crime here, then we can go over there and be the example of how to treat our people, of what not to do as we build this new bridge and we rebuild this nation. You know what I'm saying? Love will give you the
I love that.
steps to make in dealing with your people and reconnecting with your people.
Man, I love that, man. You know, and what I always say is that my mind is bigger than a luxury house and a car.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what I focus on and what I envision is, you know, a African alliance that's globalized.
Yeah.
Where we can do for ourselves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that, you know, that's African pride to me right there.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Is to want to see our people succeed.
Yeah.
I believe it's beyond wearing the clothing, because you know, some people outwardly, they appear to be a certain way, but internally, you know, they're not what their outward appearance portrays.
Right.
And some people they may not dress this way, but they have more of a heart and mind for the people than those who do dress this way, because of the state of mind that the person is in. You know, so I would like to say that, you know, I believe a person still does have African pride, even if they don't dress this way, because it's a matter of the heart. I believe it's stages.
Right.
You know, because once upon a time, not long ago, you know what I'm saying, I didn't dress this way.
Right.
You know? Right. And so, you know, I was on the mission. I was wearing polo style shirts, you know, but at the same time, my queen and I, we both put together an event to bring together the resources in a community.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And to bring together the entrepreneurs in our community and to introduce the consumers, you know, to the sellers. Right. And the sellers to the consumers. You know what I'm saying? So we can know about each other, because we can't support businesses that we don't know nothing about, right? You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't dress the way that I'm dressed now. You know what I'm saying? Now, the day of the event, I had on this attire, but you know, it was a transformation. It's a process. Right. You know, and what I'm saying is, I think that we speak too quickly. You know, we put our mouths too quickly on, you know, brothers and sisters who don't have an image that would say to someone that, oh, they don't have the pride of an African because they're not dressed this way. I think sometimes, you know, we can become very prideful and very forgetful. You know, because so once were you. Okay. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Before you heard Dr. Sebi, so once was you. You know, before you heard Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad, so once were you. And the Honorable Louis Farrakhan, so once were you. You know what I'm saying? You know, and I think sometimes we get absent-minded, man. You know, like, it's like my queen, you know, she don't dress like me. And you know what I'm saying? But, you know, she's for the people. Right. Now, see, some people don't know this, right? Some people don't know that she just haven't found something that can actually suit her taste that is of African, you know, attire. Right. Because we don't understand that that's the reason why they have different style dresses, because everybody don't like one style. Right. Right. Go ahead, man. Talk to us, brother.
I mean, that's absolutely 100% correct. And what we try to do when we sell your own clothing, you know, is that we try to teach the people that, especially coming from Dr. AK, you know, what Dr. AK, you know, instills in us and teaches us, you know, always making sure that he has informed people moving his clothing so that we keep the, you know, we keep the process alive, is that the clothing, the jewelry, the accessories, the head ties is not taken away from those things at all, in any aspect at all. It's those things are outward manifestations of the growth going on within. So you put the seed in the ground, and when you're watering the seed and the seed is getting sun and the seed is going through its seasons, you don't see anything. You may see tank tops and sweatpants and socks and slides, you know, but that sapling, that sprout that comes up from the ground, that's, I have on the African necklace today. You know, and when that tree grows up and it starts to grow those tomatoes, that's, you know, I went in my closet, I saw my polos, I saw my Gucci that I bought when I was in that phase, and then I looked at my African top and I say, I want to wear this today. I feel like wearing this African top today. That is what happens when the transformation comes from within. But what we see in the conscious sector is people try to evolve from the outside in. The first thing they do when they seek African consciousness is, let me get up all the dashikis, all of the bracelets, let me come up with a nice look, let me get the look down, and then bam, now that I got the look, now the rest of it will just come with time. But what we have is we kind of have like a reversal of Get Out, where you have the blacks, but they got the white mind. You have the conscious African outer, but on the inside, it's still the same unreformed being. So we have the African consciousness attire, but you still have the slave mentality. So you will see somebody with African clothing and African gear, but they still chasing white women in the street. And you'll see somebody with the African clothing and the African jewelry, but they still cussing out another brother on the street. Hey, I get a gun and I kill you right now. But they got on the African dashikis, and you like, no, brother, no. Take off the dashiki. Just continue, do what you're gonna do, but just take off the top. Take off the top. You know, the transformation has to come from the inside out so that it's more authentic. Once it comes from the inside out, everybody will, you will fall into your own style. You will develop your own style. You will realize that African culture, what African culture has done that no other culture has done, is that African culture is the only culture where literally thousands of different kinds of people live together in harmony. You go to Spanish culture and everybody's Spanish. And you go to Arabian culture, everybody's Arab. Everybody wears the punjab. Everybody looks the same. You go to white culture, everybody has a suit. Everybody has a tie. Everybody look the same. When you go to Africa, there are thousands of different tribes, millions of different languages, all living together on the same continent. That's the only culture that embodies that. And that is why when you take American culture out of circulation of the rest of the world, it throws mankind into chaos. And the only thing mankind really has to hold on in the absence of African culture is music, because it's the only thing that even comes close to successfully pulling off the model that is found in African culture.
You know what, brother? I'm so glad that you elaborated on that, because that's something, to be honest with you, Kaka, that, and for those you don't know what Kaka is, that means brother. Right. Okay. So, you said something very significant when you talked about the various cultures. And that's the reason why, one of the reasons why I had came up with the title of this video, because in African culture, what is it? The Wadabi people, the women are the ones that rule.
Right. Matriarch.
And the women can have as many husbands as they want. You see what I'm saying?
Whoa.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Wadabi people, right?
Yeah.
So this is the reason why I'm glad that you brought that up, because a lot of us, we really don't know how diverse African culture really is.
Big time.
So many of us don't understand the various, ways that, even like when you come into the presence of the elder, in some cultures you take a knee, and in some cultures you lay prostrate.
Yeah.
In some cultures you just bow.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So this is the reason why I brought this topic up, because unfortunately, a lot of us, we say we're conscious, but the truth of the matter is we really not, because conscious means to be aware. So a lot of us, we're only aware of a certain people. And this is no blow to anybody that follow after comedic science. I'm just saying, some people, that's all they know.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? No strike against the ones who claim to be Hebrew Israelite. However, that's all they know. You see what I'm saying? And I'm talking about people who are just narrow-minded. They find one sect of people over in Africa, and then they make it a blanket, cultural Bible, if you will, and try to mandate that everyone falls into that scope of that particular culture.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When some of us come from the Cushite people. Yep. Some of us come from the Asante people. Some of us come from the Dahomey people and the Dogon people. You know what I'm saying? Some of us, we got so many, and the Zulu people, and they all have different ways of doing things amongst their people. Yep. So this is something I would say it's very dangerous to narrow it down to one culture and then try to conglomerate everybody into that one culture. Like, you know, for instance, like even with polygamy, some people get upset about that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, that's not of God, and you know, things of this nature, but it's a part of culture.
Right. What's your culture? Well, how do you live, you know?
You know, it's a part of culture. Not all, you know, people of African descent, their culture, not all of them subscribe to that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that only comes with us doing, you know, our search. And for some of us, we have to research, because research means to do again. You know what I'm saying? And some of us never even search. You know, that, you know, and we need to become familiarized with that, because, like, for instance, like Frederick Douglass, you know what I'm saying? First he had an African descent queen, and then he ended up, you know, marrying outside of our people, right?
Right.
He still fought for our people until the day that he died.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right. Right.
You know, so who can take that away from him, that he still fought for us?
Right.
Now, I'm not, and hear me well, I don't agree with that. However, you know what I'm saying? I will never still take away from the fact that he put his life on the line for our people.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying? And so I think that, you know, for myself, the reason why I believe we need to stick with our people is to continue the bloodline, to keep generational wealth flowing in our communities. You know what I'm saying? You know, so we can build as a nation.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we have various cultures, you know what I'm saying? They're not a part of our culture.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So we got to keep our bloodline running strong, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of us don't understand how gifted we really are. Some of us think that because of the oppression, because of what we suffered during slavery, we're not so gifted, we're not so blessed. But we are blessed people. It's just that unfortunately we've been cut off from the knowledge of how magical we actually are, because like what you said in the beginning, we've been taught that our culture is is demonic. So in closing, my brother, I'd like for you to give your last remarks and also tell people how they can contact you. And for everybody who's tuned in on this evening, for my queen, Amani Mari, and I, you know, who's the co-founder of this organization, Kevlar Union Alliance, we want to thank everybody for tuning in, you know, and also King Hakeem, we thank you for taking out the time to come on and to share your knowledge and your wisdom and your actual experience by touching the soil of the motherland with us on today, man. So go ahead, brother.
Right. I mean, my closing remarks in closing is that everybody should visit the continent. Everybody should visit the continent. Everybody should put their foot on the continent, the land. They should put their foot. They should put their foot on the land. You know, there was things that I experienced over there that even if I verbalized it, it wouldn't fully express the energy and the connection that was made over there. And a lot of the people that argue between, well, that's not my culture, that's your culture, and all that stuff here, those are people that have never been there. A lot of the Hebrew Israelite people, they refuse to go there. I know people who they would call my radio station and be like, you know, I'm afraid of the stuff you teach on the radio station. And I say, why? They say, because if we go back to Africa, we all gonna fall back into witchcraft again. And I was like, have you ever been to the continent of Africa? No, I've never been there. So I'm like, how do you know that everybody's on the continent doing witchcraft? I went to the continent and these people love God probably more than Christians in America do. These are the most, you walking down the street and people are sitting on their balcony, no church, no nothing, just 5 people sitting on their balcony in the middle of the night praising God. But do tell it in America, everybody's over there putting each other in pots and eating each other and cutting their wrists and slitting their wrists. America has destroyed the identity of Africans to their children, and they have destroyed the identity of African Americans to their fathers and their mothers. So yes, there is stages to where sometimes the plant is in the pot and sometimes the plant is in the soil. But even if you can go over there and get some of that soil and put it in your pot and just have that experience in your heart, have that experience in your roots, it's just plugging in. If you want to plug something in, you have to walk to the wall and plug it in. But once it's plugged in, depending on how long that cord is, you can use that from anywhere in the house. So just go over there and get plugged in. Once you get plugged in, you can come back to America, you can go to London, you can go wherever you want to. But it's just going over there and putting the plug in the wall. So, stay tuned. We gonna start building a lot of trips over there. We're gonna start organizing a lot of trips over there, and we just gonna get people. We gonna start organizing tours on the West Africa. Go and see the slave dungeons. Go and see the memorials. Go and talk to the people for yourself. Q&A and dialogue with the people for yourself. These are the things that we're putting together in the near future. So you can find me at Brother Royce, or you can search me as Hakeem Royce. Matter of fact, search me as Hakeem Royce. You can find me on all social media, and you will also find WMRR G.L.U.E Movement Radio every Thursday between 3 and 6. Tune in to the show. And for all of those who have fear of the unknown, we are going to grab you by the hand and we're going to walk you through the process of reconnecting very slowly, very intricately, and very intimately, so that we can all take this journey together and grow together as a diverse but still family unit structure.
Thank you for that, my brother. If you would be so kind to tell everybody how they can, follow you, and I believe, if you haven't mentioned it already, the date of your program and the times you have the programs, with pretty much all your social media outlets, so they can connect with you. And also, family, I want to add too that Brother Jamar Milton of the Lighthouse, he does trips over to Africa. Also, another brother that does trips over to Africa is Brother Dinas Amir. Brother Dinas Amir goes over there about at least 3 or 4 times a year over to Africa. I'm going to put both of their names there. They're excellent points of contact. They're trustworthy brothers. Okay. And they can connect you with a trip over to Africa until my brother starts up his program.
Yes.
Hey, brother, you got it, Brother Hakeem.
And I mean, you can find me right here on Facebook. You got Hakeem Royce. You see the link is on the live. Once you find me through Facebook, once you friend me on Facebook, that'll connect you to my Instagram. That'll connect you to G.L.U.E Movement Radio. That'll connect you to anything that we're doing, whether we're selling African clothing, whether we're doing speaking in your area, if you're in Ohio, if you're in New York, if you're in Atlanta, if you're in California, whether we're doing speaking in your area, whether we come up with a new design of clothing out of Ghana, we sell backpacks, we sell purses. All funds goes towards the Black community and towards the African community as well, because they're the ones who make all of our materials. You can keep up with me. Just follow me on Facebook, go to the Hakeem Royce link on this video and friend me on Facebook, and that's how you'll be able to keep up with me and everything that we're doing to reconnect the African diaspora back to their source.
Thank you, my brother. Be blessed.
Yes. Oh.
All right, family. So again, we thank you so much for tuning in this evening. We'll be bringing more programs to you like this here in the near future. All right. If you are a person that has something to say to the community that you believe is going to empower the community, whether it's spiritual, financial, health-wise, all right, the knowledge of self, okay, we would love to bring you on this program. If you know anyone who fits that criteria that you believe that would be a good fit for the El-Kebalan Indian Alliance program. If you would be so kind to tag them in this video, inbox them this video. Again, this is not about fame. This is all about transformation with us, okay? Because, you know, first and foremost, our ancestors didn't go for fame. They went for transformation. They laid down their lives to set our people free, okay? Mentally, physically, and financially. So this is not about that with us. We are all about empowering the people here. So if you'll be so kind to inbox this information to those who you know will be a perfect fit for this program, I would love to speak with them, okay? And have them to inbox me. That'll be great. You know, I'd love to bring them on future programs. Every week, we would do our best to bring you content like this on a weekly basis so we all can grow together. And I learn myself as well as I bring on these various guests because I don't know it all, you know what I'm saying? But I believe if you teach a wise man wisdom, they'll become wiser. For my Queen Amani Mariai, we thank you for all of your love, everybody that shared, invited, and hung in here with us. We greatly appreciate it. If you'll be so kind, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, El-Kebalan Indian Alliance. That'd be great. And again, invite others so they too can be empowered by this information so we can grow together as a nation. Peace.